We're trying to do something new.
Podcasting, obviously. I feel like we've put so much pressure on this first episode. This isn't our first take filming or recording this. This is our...
I think this is our third or fourth.
It's our third take. We did like one quick 5-minute take like the first day, and we knew that wasn't long enough. We wanted to do something a little bit more. And then we filmed it a couple days ago, and it was rushed before we had another interview, and we just thought, that's not good enough either. But I think we just keep putting all this pressure on this first episode because this is like... It's like the movie trailer, you know, you want it to be really good and show what it's about, but accurately, but also show that it's going to be really fun.
But first, let's back up because we just kind of jumped in.
Yeah.
We haven't explained anything about who we are or what we do. And we're only pretending or thinking that people who are watching this or listening to this know who Chris and Sara are. And
like we're supposed to be a household
like
name.
Like we're freaking Madonna, and we're not. We're not Madonna. We're Chris and Sara. So if you could give me a 15-second elevator pitch, Chris and Sara, who are we? What do we do? What would it be?
Let's just go ahead and maybe we should roll our old YouTube intro from 3 years ago. It's we're Chris and Sara. For the last 3 years, we've been traveling in our van. Oh, I watched that and I'm way too perky in that. I like being happy, but man, I'm perky. Okay, 15-second elevator pitch of who Chris and Sara are. Well, we're a husband and wife. We call ourselves a creative duo because I feel like that's a little bit more all-encompassing of we do a lot of things. We got into the YouTube game because we like creating more than we wanted to, I guess, be YouTubers. YouTube is just a fun way to be able to share and build a little bit of community behind what we're creating and have people who get excited about it with us. So we're creatives. We've done graphic design, web design, photography, videography. For me, 8 years, Chris, 15 years. We've been at it for a while doing creative things and we love it. And then about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we bought our first van, converted it. And 6 months later, we started a YouTube channel. So we've been at YouTube for over 4 years now. Sort of started as a van life channel because we were living in a van. Then it sort of pivoted to more travel as we started incorporating international travel. Man, this isn't 15 seconds.
No, that's exactly what was going through my head. It was,
I know,
this is way over 15 seconds, but keep on going. You're on a good track.
I know somebody's out there thinking, who the heck gave those two microphones? Like we really need another excuse to talk. Maybe, I don't know, maybe people will be like, oh, it feels like I'm having coffee with them. Okay, well, let's go back to our story and then we'll get to that. We're mostly travelers. We call ourselves creatives who really love telling stories. I think stories are important. We love telling stories of people and places and experiences. But travel is just a common thread that kind of goes through our channel. Not every video is a travel video, but probably 90% of our videos have some sort of travel element to them, whether it's domestically or internationally. Maybe we're camping or staying in a nice hotel. It varies. I think that kind of speaks to who we are. We like to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I want to speak to that really quick because we're friends with the people over at B&H Photo. And when we were first talking with them, the very first thing, he was going through our YouTube channel and, we were trying to say, hey, we think we could work together. We're good partners. And he's like, I noticed that your views are all over the place. And we're like, yeah. And he said, I like that. I really like that because it shows me that you just kind of create whatever you're interested in. And that's always stuck with me. I'm like, you know what? We do. So
not to pride ourselves too much.
No, but one week it could be about drones, and another week it could be about swimming in a beautiful lake in Mexico.
So, where were we?
Oh, you were finishing up our elevator pitch.
Oh, our 15-second elevator pitch turned to 5 minutes. Welcome to the Chris and Sara show.
So, well, let's go ahead and talk about the show. For those of you who are in our audience, maybe you know who we are, what we've done. You've been watching our videos or you've been following along on Instagram for a long time, and you're like, okay, they're going to do a podcast. What is this whole thing going to be about? This is called What No One Tells You.
And the idea behind that is that these are honest conversations with people from all different walks of life. And sometimes it'll just be us and sometimes it'll be guests. I think we're definitely gonna have a lot of guests on here because we're really excited about that. We've already recorded, at the time of this recording of our introduction podcast episode, we've already recorded 10 episodes with guests.
And we know some interesting people.
We do. The idea is that these are just honest conversations, but really fun conversations. Maybe it's along the lines of, I don't know. I kind of hope people leave the podcast and each week they learn a little something. Maybe it's introducing them to a whole different genre of travel, or maybe it's a whole different, somebody has a really cool profession, or maybe they work with seeking justice by working with a nonprofit. So I think that we want to host people on the podcast or invite them to be on the podcast with us to have conversations that, you know, educate us and educate you. But we don't want it to be like a super educational show. We want it to be very conversational. We want it to be
like you're a friend sitting down with coffee.
Yeah. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but Chris and I have said that for the entire time we've had a platform for over 4 years now. We always kind of come back to, we want you guys to feel like you're sitting down and having a cup of coffee with friends. When you turn us on YouTube, when you turn on the podcast, when you tune into Instagram or whatever we're doing, that you feel like you're hanging out with friends. I think that's really important to us because we know that truly connecting with people in this world can be kind of difficult. And we don't think we're everybody's cup of tea by any means. Like, we get it. Like, a lot of people do not like us. You may be like, click, we're gone. That's okay. Just leave. Don't troll us. Just leave. But that's okay. We do want people to feel like they have a friend. Chris has wanted to do a podcast since before we even wanted to do a YouTube. Of course, Chris wanted to get us on YouTube back in 2016 for our first trip international together. We were in Thailand.
I just like creating things.
I know, I do too, but I know I was really intimidated. I didn't really get YouTube. That was like the height of Casey Neistat era, you know?
Oh, I wanted to be...
He was doing his daily vlogs. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who he was. Chris tried to get me to watch him, and I don't know. I think Casey's amazingly talented, but I didn't really get the whole YouTube idea yet.
No, and I wanted to be Casey Neistat.
Everybody wanted to be Casey Neistat.
I thought my life was so interesting, and it wasn't at the time.
It was for 2 months when we were in Asia, and then we came back home, and I don't know. I think there could be interesting things in every moment of life. It's just how you spin it. But yeah, I wasn't into it. But you've been interested in doing a podcast for a long time. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of a podcast because I like good conversations. And I like getting to know different people. So I don't know, maybe this is just one big giant ploy to get people to come talk to us. Because when you put the word, would you like to be interviewed for a podcast? It sounds very official. I'm like, yeah, I'll come talk to you versus like, hey, can we hang out for an hour and talk over a webcam?
Yeah, and I thought the reason that you wanted to go on a podcast was because you didn't have to dress up.
That's true. Chris proposed a podcast idea, and I remember thinking, okay, I could do that over YouTube. This was 6 years ago. I liked the idea of not being on camera, and I liked the idea that I could talk to people and hang out and be in my pajamas. I loved that idea. And then YouTube rolled out video podcasting, and so did Spotify. And, well, I mean, we still got to have podcasts and get to talk to people, but now I have to be wearing real clothes, which has sort of killed it a little bit for me. But the conversations we've had so far have been really fun and really good. Mm-hmm. So I'll wear jeans for a few minutes if it means getting to hang out with people. I hate wearing pants. I do. I love my pajamas. Working from home was the best thing that ever happened to me.
You do have an amazing gift on when we go home, you know, after a day of work, within 2 minutes, you have changed clothes into your pajamas.
They're not pajamas. My pajamas are like, you know, cotton shorts and a t-shirt. They're not completely like wearing around silk pajamas or cotton flannels or something like that.
But you're like Superman. Like, you go inside the phone booth and then instantly you're in your superhero outfit. You know?
It's true. That is my superpower, is just being able to change in an instant. I like to be comfortable. I do. Man, that's my thing. I can't have fun unless I'm comfortable. I want to be able to move around, feel free. But the podcast, back to the podcast, not my changing clothes all the time.
Not only are we going to have guests on, but we're going to have episodes where we just talk and we answer questions because people obviously have asked for that.
Those are going to be our least clicked on episodes. Chris and Sara, swipe.
But I think this is a good time to go ahead and say we've set up a phone number. And
this is not our real phone. I mean, it's our real phone number, but it goes straight to voicemail. We're not giving out our personal numbers on the air.
So we're going to put the phone number. Actually, this is a podcast, so I need to read.
Well, we can put it in the description, but I can read it out too.
Yeah, read it out too.
I want to make sure I give the right one and not somebody else's I've talked to. Is that it? That may be our landscaper's phone number. Oh, it was. It wasn't the right number. Okay, I'm so glad I didn't give that out. Okay.
So what's the phone number that they could call in?
That poor guy would have had so many voicemails of...
I want to know about van life.
So the phone number, if you're interested in calling or texting, you can text. But if you call, we get to hear your voice. And if you call, know that we will use your clip on the podcast probably. Mm-hmm. So just make sure you're okay with that. But leave us a message with a question so we can hear your voice and then put you on the podcast. That way we don't have to read it. You can read it to us. But the phone number, 423 423-825-9572.
Yes.
Should I say that one more time?
Yeah, say it one more time.
423-825-9572. Was that clear enough and slow enough?
That was very clear. So they can call, so you can call, leave a voicemail. You can even text that. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can still leave a comment on YouTube or send us a DM on Instagram.
Don't leave a comment on YouTube. Don't put that, because that we will never see that or find that again.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
YouTube has a terrible, I don't know if anybody knows that, but when you comment on our YouTube, we get a notification one time. And either if we answer it or even if we don't, it disappears. So if I reply to your comment and then you reply again, I don't really get a notification on the back end.
We don't get notifications for people commenting back to us.
Yeah, well, you do in like one on the very homepage, but nobody actually checks that homepage little button like everybody else has notifications. Yeah. It's they show you like 3 at a time, so I'd have to scroll through it, and it never works. So I always felt bad about that. I don't know if people realize that, because sometimes people comment back, and I will happen to see it when I'm going back through comments, and I realize they've asked an important question. I completely missed it because I don't get a notification. So if you want us to see it, call, text, email.
Oh, yeah.
hello@chrisandsara.com or Instagram message. Those are our best ways. And we try our best to answer everyone.
We do. Yeah.
I always see your message. I may not always remember to respond. That's just personal. I'm a little spacey sometimes.
And since this is a podcast, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now.
You always scare me when you preface it.
If you're on iTunes, please leave us a review. Just leave us a review on iTunes. It means a lot.
Yeah, it does. That's really important to someone who's trying to start something new, a new creative
venture. And if you don't like the podcast, don't leave a review.
Please don't. Just don't. Don't. No. I want honesty. I want people to let us know if I guess if you have critical feedback, send us a message. That's more constructive than just leaving it in the comments or the reviews. If you don't like something about the podcast, if something you think is really bad, send us a message. Maybe don't leave that in the reviews. Not because we don't want criticism, but just because I'm going to be more likely to hear the advice and do something about it if I hear from someone personally. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Do we want to ask them a question right now, and they can leave a comment or they can send us an email or whatever of like, maybe we should ask them who should be on the podcast?
Oh, yeah. Who do you guys want to hear on the podcast? And what do you want us to interview them about? Because that's important, because I know there's some people out there who we could have them on to talk about 5 or 10 different topics because they're just so fascinating. So tell us, what do you want to hear us talk to them about? I think the podcast gives us an excuse to call up those friends we haven't gotten to see lately who live in every corner of the world and say, hey, do you want to come on the podcast and talk about something so we can sit here and catch up for an hour and just have a good time? We should do that with people more often, even if we're not on a podcast. But there's something about putting the name podcast in it and calling it an interview that people are more likely to show up.
Well, it gives them an excuse, a reason, right?
And you put it on the calendar. Every party has the invitation, the link to get into the meeting, and you put it on the calendar. And it's not, this idea of, oh yeah, we need to catch up sometime on the phone. No, they have to show up. It's a commitment. So I think that's been fun of catching up with old friends, but also there's people we've reached out to be on the podcast who've already been on the podcast. We already have episodes recorded that we've followed for a long time. Somebody came on and talked to us about travel points and miles. I am by no means an expert, but this person is, and it was an incredible episode of helpful information.
That was fascinating, actually.
The more I learn about points and miles, the less I know. And if you don't know what we're talking about, stay tuned for in a few episodes, because it'll blow your mind how people are making travel affordable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Let's go ahead and say a few of the topics that we have coming up. Some of the ones we filmed.
Okay.
We filmed the points and miles one. That's going to be really informative. We have someone coming on talking about, it's a travel couple. One of the people in the couple works for an airline. So her stories are funny.
And she gives you some really cool tips on
being in an airport.
Yeah.
But then hearing their stories together of how working for the airline and all that they've learned from traveling, we get to hear about their experiences around the world. They're avid travelers and they document it all. So we'll have them on. And then
we have somebody talking strictly about YouTube.
Ooh, yeah. If you're starting a YouTube channel in 2023, that's a really good one.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite topics to talk about. But so I really dived in there. I nerded out really hardcore on that.
We have someone on here who's super adventurous that she's made several big life moves. And so she's going to talk to us about starting over. Maybe you're thinking about a big move or you want to take a big move. She's going to be on to talk to us about that. This one's sort of a personal one for us. He's one of our oldest friends. He actually knew both of us before we knew each other, which there's not that many people who can say that because we grew up in very different bubbles. We didn't go to the same school or grow up in the same town. So there's not a lot of people that knew both of us before we knew each other. But this guy does. And he's an old friend, and he is a very interesting person. He works for a nonprofit as an executive director, and he just knows a lot about being responsible humans in the world. How to travel, how to live and benefit others without doing more damage. So he's going to talk to us about how he uses physical activity, running, biking, hiking, to pursue justice and be an advocate for those who don't have a voice. So that's a really cool episode.
It's super cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm really excited about that. And you get to hear him pick at us a little bit about when we were dating. Because if you don't know, Chris and I met on a bike trip. We talk about that pretty often because it was so formative in our relationship. But we met biking from Seattle to New York. And so we like that episode because we got to dig in and sort of walk down memory lane a little bit. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun guests coming up in the near future, whether we've interviewed them already or we're interviewing them in weeks to come. But I'm just really excited to be able to talk to people about this, about all these different topics.
It's been fun because I don't think that there hasn't been a day that we've come into the studio and I've been dreading it. Like, I've got to go to work. No, I really have enjoyed it every day. It's sort of it's crazy that it's a part of our job now to go and we get to talk to people about stuff we're interested in. I think that is crazy. That's so fun. Yeah. I've truly loved it even more than I expected. And I love making videos, but it's two very different forms. Like this is filling that void that sometimes YouTube leaves for us where we don't, it's us and we love each other and we interact with each other and it's fun being creative. But sometimes it can be kind of lonely when you're traveling and very rarely, especially internationally, do we have anybody we know that we're meeting up with or traveling with? And so this is kind of giving us that human interaction element that we always crave. Yeah. One idea we've had is break down when we take a big trip. Maybe it's to a new country or maybe it's just to a national park. We do a whole episode on just diving in and digging into what no one tells you about visiting that place. So maybe our honest thoughts or what our experiences were, things we loved or didn't like about a said place.
Where the best ice cream is.
Always important. always important. Yeah, those are all ideas. This is just us sort of brain dumping everything right now.
Yeah.
Because I think that we're really excited. We hope you guys are excited too. I'm putting a lot of pressure on this first episode because I really want it to be an accurate portrayal of what the rest of the show is going to be like. And it may change and grow as we change and grow. And there may be different seasons of the podcast. It will be weekly every Monday. It'll come out.
Yes.
I want to make sure that's known. And I say that. I don't think we've said that.
Every Monday. In the first week, we'll just go ahead and say it. The first week, we're going to drop 3 episodes. And then after that, it's every
weekly.
Monday.
Yeah, just 1 episode a week. That's a lot of podcasting. But I'm excited. We are not releasing anything until we have at least 10 or 15 episodes filmed, recorded. That's a few months of content.
Because I was telling Sarah, I'm like, one of the things, I listen to a bunch of podcasts, and one of the things that I feel when they don't upload a podcast, like maybe they miss a week or they're taking a week off, I'm like, I feel like I've lost a friend that week. I mean, not that sincere, but I'm like, oh, there's something missing.
We need to analyze that.
There's something missing. I'm like, I missed that podcast. And so we want to do our best to be as consistent as possible.
We do. I feel like we could dive into what that means, psychoanalyze that a little bit, but
they're all my friends.
How lonely are you? No, I get what you mean. I understand that. Okay. Yeah, we want to be consistent, and that's why we went ahead and filmed and recorded a lot of podcast episodes. We have a lot of pressure on us, or we're putting it on ourselves that we want this first episode to be really good because we're presenting it to our Instagram and our YouTube and our email list and everybody who's followed along with us, which is, collectively 140, 50,000 people. Just small by some people's standards, but that's 150,000 people that we're going to say, hey, look at this new project. And hopefully a small percentage of you guys will tune into this podcast. And we want that small percentage who's followed along with us for a while to get excited about what they're hearing. We don't want people to hear this first podcast episode and think, really didn't resonate with me. And maybe it won't. That's okay. If it's not going to resonate with everybody, we want it to be an accurate representation of what the rest of it's going to be like so we can get visitors to come back.
And this is the introduction. Like all we're doing is we're telling them what to expect. And that's okay.
I think that it's a good move for us?
I think so. And we're going to keep it on our channel too.
Yeah, that's another big thing is we even polled you guys of, do you think we should keep our podcast on our current YouTube channel or move it off our YouTube channel and create a whole new channel? And 75% of y'all said keep it on your current channel, and 25% of y'all said to move it off. And a lot of people in that 25% are very regular followers. Like they're regular people in our community who comment all the time. And so that kind of makes us nervous of, ooh, is this a bad move keeping it on our channel? But I think I want it to be living under one roof. Yeah. I think it'll be a good move.
It's going to be great.
I think so. Like I said, we're not going to not do something just because we're nervous, but it also doesn't take away that like, this could be a big mistake. Or is it a mistake if we like it?
I don't think so.
I'm just talking in circles.
I think to wrap this up, we're excited about the next few. One thing we forgot to mention.
What?
This is not in place of our vlogs.
Oh my gosh, we need to say that, y'all. We are not going anywhere on the YouTubes.
No. So our plan is to upload a weekly vlog and then a weekly podcast.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this online some, but the last 6 months of life have just been, like, fully transparent, y'all. They've been really hard. I mean, we've had some really big wins in there, but more often than not, it has just been almost daily we wake up and it's just been like a storm that never ends. And I feel like we're slowly coming out of that. We've had some pretty good moments that have happened lately, but it's been a lot. So our weekly vlogs have disappeared for a while. They did disappear for a while. But that's not because we didn't want to film. It's just because life was so busy. We hardly even had time to, our yard looks a mess right now. Like, we've hardly had time to get the things around us taken care of and get our ducks in a row. So our vlogs are not going anywhere is what I'm saying. And we want to thank you guys for being gracious with us. If you have been around for a while and you've noticed that things have gotten quiet, and thanks for sticking with us through it. So life has just been really crazy the last 6 months, and there's been a lot that's been out of our control. But in those 6 months, we've had a little bit of extra time on our hands to create and dream. So even when we're quiet, there's a lot happening. I think sometimes people should be more afraid when we are quiet, because that means we're going to slap y'all with something new. Oh, great. Here they come again. But yeah, the podcast is something that came out of finally having time for the podcast. Is something that came out of those 6 months of just feeling like life was out of control. And we've got a lot of podcasts prepared for you guys. We also have a lot of YouTube videos prepared for you guys. And we are really excited about this new season of content creation. I think it's going to be good. Yeah, and we can't wait to bring you guys along. So, Chris, wrap it up. So, Sarah, any last words? Those were my last words, I thought. He just asked me to say some last words. Last words. I don't know. I think it would mean a lot to me if people wrote in and told us what kind of episodes and what kind of people you guys want to hear us talk about. Yeah. Because I think that's really important. You guys may give us some really cool ideas. I mean, just driving down the road, we regularly pull out our phone and make a note of, oh man, that would be a really cool topic to talk about. Yeah. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, life's exciting, and I think we can dive into a lot of really cool topics on here. Yeah. All right. So remember, if you don't know the number, or we need a jingle for the number. Actually, yeah, we need a jingle for the number. Can anybody write us a jingle for a phone number, like those little radio jingles? So remember, you can email questions at hello@chrisandsara.com, or you can leave a voicemail or text to the number 423-825-9572. Otherwise, we can't wait to hear from you on Instagram and YouTube and all that other jazz, but we're excited to take you guys along, and here's to the next episode. Let's go.